So my topic is innovative ways of improving crop establishment and yield in a drying climate. So special thanks to my sponsor, Grains Research and Development Corporation, or GRDC, great company to work with and give me plenty of support on the way through. And also thank you to Nuffield, who provided this fantastic journey for me to be able to get away and sort of learn, grow, and be able to come back and share what we've been part of. And it's something that as you get through the process, you know that it's just going to be a constant part of my life, and it's great. So special thanks also to my family and my staff back home. I mean, I was feeling obsessive compulsive as far as the work on the farm went, and I haven't really left it for too long, so to be able to get processes in place and have confidence in your staff at home, and also to have the support of the family is a big thing with 4 kids at home. So here we are, a farm called Melcana in Bencubbin, Western Australia. It's northeastern wheatbelt, 270 k's northeast from Perth, so a fair way out. So just dry land cropping, and every now and then we'll play with some canola or some pulses, just opportunistically depending on the season. I farm there with my wife Trifina and the 4 children, Talia, Savannah, Caden and Mackenzie, and we've had a fairly early succession plan, and I've had full control and ownership of the farm since I was 28, so it's been a good grounding. It's put me in the spot, and I'm sure I've made plenty of mistakes, but that's a part of it. So for me, the issues in the eastern wheatbelt is obviously predominantly based around rainfall, and we've been really tested. Our viability has been tested. It's also been questioned. We've got some of the parliamentarians like Colin Barnett, our Premier, sort of suggesting that we should ignore cropping and go back into sheep and turn it basically back into station country. So you can take a fairly negative view, and it certainly has had some serious impacts financially on some businesses. But I still feel that there's plenty of potential out there. But we have had sharp rainfall declines since the 1970s, which has been proven. And obviously, so behind my topic, it's all about trying to improve our financial resilience by improving our cropping knowledge and systems based around crop establishment, because it's all based on germination. So, here we go. So, if we just have a look here on the map, so we're based out here, so we are on the fringe of the cropping wheat belt, and obviously relying on rainfall really can put some. It really emphasises, just how vulnerable you are, because you're on the edge of the cropping belt in the Western Australia area. So if we just look at this green line, for example, so that's a 225 mil isohyet line for our growing season. So obviously pretty important to our whole cropping operation. So they've basically slid westwards, and the biggest decline has been in the eastern wheat belt. And so for us to lose, we've only got 300 mils of annual rainfall, and 200 mils theoretically, or 225 theoretically in our growing season. So for us to lose 50 mils of rainfall, and that's happened, it's been documented, using a French and Schultz equation for wheat yield, which is widely accepted in the cropping environment. So 20 kilograms a millimetre for effective rainfall, less evaporation, which is 100 mils. So we can't stop our evaporation. So if you just look at 50 mils, that's a tonne of wheat. It's $250 a hectare. It's a lot. And for us to lose that obviously sharpens us up. And on the right hand side, the graph, you can basically just see the rainfall going forward. There's obviously more red bars on the right hand side, and you look at the 1960s, which they talk about fantastic seasons, all above the 70 mil line over 70 days, which is in that real integral part of our crop establishment. So we are classed as a marginal environment. I mean, it's a term that we don't like hearing, but it is probably fairly accurate, I believe. So 2013, I'd been asked to have a look at Nuffield a few times, and so I looked out my window, and here we were. This is our farm in 2013, and there's probably plenty of exciting topics I could come up with for Nuffield, and I thought, well, probably the biggest thing I need to look at is to try and improve timely germination, and it's not early germination with, say, longer season, grazing wheats. It's just trying to get our crop in and up on limited moisture at the right time, and for us, during the May period is just a fairly normal time for us to get our crop established. So I've just shown that we do have lack of winter rainfall, but it also exacerbates the fact that we also got lack of seeding bed moisture. So our biggest reduction in rainfall is the early part of winter, so through April and early May and into June. And timely emergence is so critical for crop yield potential. Because we do have such a short season, we know that we're going to lead into moisture stress going into summer. So it's just absolutely critical that we get a crop up and about and established and moving on, because yield is king, and early sowing crops have greater water use efficiency. Luckily for us, 2013 didn't turn into a good year, but in our environment, there's just so much variability that you play the game, you have your cards on the table, and you never can quite tell where you'll end up. So 2013, despite how poor it looked, I'd just about written off the season, and it had turned out to be a big year. But basically, yield is king, and obviously the financial ramifications of crop establishment and yield in our region is determined by financial performance, and then that's far-reaching further than the farm gate, because we've got small communities, we've got businesses that rely on us, and also behind that is the financiers and just lack of, just the confidence generally in the whole farming system. And that's just a bit of a snapshot of some of our figures. And we can quite easily go up or down 25% return on equity every year. So if we compound the losses, it can have a very detrimental effect long term. And 2 to 3 years of below average seasons can really put you in a fairly serious spot. And it is very, very hard to get out once you lose the equity, because we basically have very, very cheap land values, but a cropping dominant business obviously has plenty of exposure with expenses, and we do have a cheap cropping inputs, but it's all relative. So it's a very broad topic. It's something that's it's a passion of mine. I'm keen to improve, so in this short next few slides, it's only just a quick snapshot of what I've seen, and just a few ideas of maybe what I could bring back. But just travelled through Canada and the US, and locally by myself after the GFP. So breeding traits, it's just a constant evolution, and even if we found the perfect breeding trait for us tomorrow, it's still going to be viable and economical for any breeding company to be able to put it into their seed lines. But it's a 10 to 15 year down the track, even with fast double haploid technology or what have you. So in the Pacific Northwest of US, this is where I spent most of my time, in Washington State. They have a fallow system, and they have to chase moisture to get their crop established and up and about before the snow comes in. Whereas we, on the other hand, need to get our crop up and about because we've got a short season. So they have, all the universities are pretty much through the US are involved in wheat breeding. And by default, they have long coleoptile wheat and all their cereals because of the fact that they have to chase moisture. And so there's a picture on a bonnet of a ute there, 6-inch coleoptile length of the cereal, which just gives you so much scope to be able to chase moisture and get it away from the vagaries of the drying phase that we get with our wind and our heat. So in the other slide I showed you of our poor establishment at home, that crop was planted with an expectation of germination and with a really hot, dry May, and obviously not having the luxury of being able to seed really deep, it just dried out that quickly in the seedbed. It just didn't work for us, and we just didn't get the crop to established. And say in Ritzville, Washington there, they'll talk about a wristwatch seeding depth, which is 6 inches. That's what they work on, and they really chase the moisture. Just on the right, some futuristic hybrid wheat, which is a long way off, and it's cost-wise it may never get out to where we are, but it's got recognised benefits like hybrid vigour that's obviously you pick up in canola today. Just on the innovative polymer technology front, this was pretty exciting. I met with a company called Solvay in Bristol in the US, and also Aubervilliers in France. They're a big chemical company. They're tied up with adjuvants inside glyphosate. I think they've got 30 or 40% of the worldwide market there. They're in shampoos, all sorts of products. But they do have a bit of a specialty product, which is polymers, and it's a sugar-based polymer. It's not toxic like your polyacrylamide technology. And they've got a product called WR30, which I think that we'd be able to incorporate in the seed zone, and it just really causes a strong magnetic attraction to moisture to try and hold it in the seed zone around the seed for a bit longer, to try and get that germination that we're after, because it might only be a matter of 24 hours or 48 hours of just holding the moisture in, that little bit of extra time to be able to get the crop germinated. And on the right hand side, just locally, some CSRO spray-on film, plastic-based, biodegradable, and the idea of that product is to be able to stop our evaporation. So early trials suggest that you can reduce your evaporation by 70%. And for us, that has strong implications back to grain yield. And even if we could pick up an extra, of that 100 mils of evaporation, even if we could pick up 20 or 30 mils of that to go forward to yield, would have a massive, massive implication. And we're trying, next year we're collaborating with CSRO and going to be getting some trials on farms. So looking forward to working with them. So back to the Pacific Northwest of the US, so their fallow systems revolve around obviously the longer coleoptile cereals, but also planting machinery that can chase the moisture. And so on your left-hand side, there's a deep furrow John Deere drill, which is probably 1960s, 1970s equipment, but very widely used still. They have very soft fallows, and basically it's got the press wheels or the packer wheels on the side of the tine, so it bursts the soil open and then presses the soil to the side, keeps all the dry soil from coming back in and drying out that seed slot. And that's very widely used, like I said. And then on the right-hand side, it's a flexi-coil or case style product with deflector wings to do something similar. And they're generally on wider row spacings of, say, 16 inches. So in the lovely rolling hills of the Palouse around Pullman, fantastic country. Big wheat yields, of course, so not any complete correlation with us, but there were some really innovative farmers, and that was a bit rare because a lot of guys, they still talk about 20 tonnes per hectare of soil loss in the Palouse because of their constant cultivation and moldboard ploughing. But there are some guys, so I met some people that use stripper fronts. They're shell-borne stripper front, which is made in the UK, and it'll just pluck the heads off the cereal stubble, so it leaves really long straw, obviously helping your moisture, trying to hold the moisture in, reducing evaporation and sunlight. And I thought, that looks perfect. I thought I'd love to be able to bring that home. But I mean, obviously, every time you look at something, there's always a trade-off, always an issue. And this is paired up with a cross-slot drill, which is produced in New Zealand. Awesome bit of machinery, hybrid technology with disc and also a tine opener, but high wear. And for us, to rebuild this every 4,000 acres is 5 times a season. It's probably going to be fairly prohibitive. But it does look good. Also in the US, pretty innovative company called Precision Planting. It's owned by Monsanto, and they've got a product called DeltaForce, which applies variable packing pressure onto your on your press wheels, so you can incorporate them into a precision drill, like a seed hawk or whatever you. But over there, obviously, with the corn and the value in corn, they use that just to be able to, through all soil types, to maintain a certain packing force. So it didn't matter where I went. Everybody thought, every farmer I met said that there was moisture limited yield potential. It was all about getting more grain from every drop of moisture. And even Dwayne Beck on the right in South Dakota, he's got a lateral irrigator behind him, but that was still his main aim. He still wanted to try and keep pushing things. Unfortunately, we don't have as much scope with enough moisture up our sleeve as these guys, but it's just a worldwide problem. But we have to be able to make sure that we get best bang for our buck on the moisture we get, and I'm sure that we can improve the systems to get that. So just getting back to our farm, on the left-hand side is very early open soil type country. It's heavy clay loam, not as heavy as the Darling Downs or anything like that, but for us it's a heavy soil type. And it was very nutritious, and that's why, and the early farmers, obviously without nitrogen and the extra fertilisers and legumes, that was highly sought after. But the clay loams are now causing us more grief because of their water holding ability that doesn't release back to the plant. So the heavy soil types require 10 mils more of moisture to get it to the same plant lower limit to the lighter soil types. And from now, purchasing into farmland, I think we've just got to stay away from the real risky soil types, especially given the fact that we are getting lighter rainfall events at the moment. So we're desperately sort of chasing the softer soil types in the safer country. Also playing around with deep furrows and trying to channel the moisture in, because of the low rainfall events, just trying to amplify the moisture into bands and just trying to get some more moisture around the seed to get a germination. And we've been lucky enough to use autosteer for RTK autosteer for about 11 or 12 years, and that's given us the luxury of being able to go back and seed into our press wheel furrow from our DBS seeding system, because it just acts like a corrugated iron roof where you harvest small amounts of rain and you chase that to get the moisture and get the crop into the seed into a moist zone, and with the plan to obviously get it to germinate. And wide rows, I mean, there is a trade-off here with weed control, but it's like the summer cropping over here on the eastern coast over here, with the plan that you don't want the root systems to explore all the soil profile and use up all the moisture early in the season. And we tried this in 06, and there is supposedly yield decline with wide row spacings, but in the advent of a really tight season and serious stress, I think it's got merit, especially on the tougher soil types that we have. Sheep, well, yeah, I love my sheep. I've still got sheep in the system, but not a lot. And I think we'll start implementing a fallow part of the system because it's just got better potential for yield and it's going to be better for soil structure. So on the left-hand side, pretty typical sheep camping and just bearing the soil and taking away all the organic matter which we need to have in the system. And on the right-hand side, just a cloddy seed bed, and you just cannot get seed-soil contact and expect to get a germination in those sort of conditions. So I guess they have got a limited time left on farm. But just in conclusion, I think that obviously we're pressured, we're forced to improve, and I think most of us will try and work on that and make sure we try and improve our systems rather than doing the same thing that we've done for many years. But I think by striving to improve our cropping management whilst adopting readily available technologies and the further incorporation of new innovations into the future, I feel dryland farmers can positively influence crop establishment and business strength. But obviously, like anything, it'll be a constant learning process and evolution. And I think it can be a really draining time in the eastern wheat belt with the variabilities that we have. And this was just a photo I took in Wyoming when I was driving around. It just shows that Mother Nature's always going to throw something at you, and we've just got to be resilient. We've got to be optimistic, and I believe we've just got to keep looking forward to better ideas and make a better thing for everyone, because we've been where we are, that it's been farmed, cropped since early 1910, and I think that to be out of the future, it doesn't matter your stance on rainfall decline and climate issues. We've just got to deal with the here and now, and I think we need to make sure that it's a cropping future into the long for the next 100 years. So, thank you.